Listen closely, because this message may reach you at the exact moment everything is beginning to change. Your good news is coming, and the people who thought your story was over are about to witness a chapter they never expected. They saw your difficult seasons. They watched you struggle, questioned your decisions, underestimated your potential, and perhaps even believed you would remain stuck in the place where they last saw you. But they made one dangerous mistake. They judged your future by your present circumstances. They did not know what was happening behind the scenes. They did not know about the doors God was preparing to open, the opportunities being aligned, the strength being developed inside you, or the blessings that were taking shape while everything appeared silent. Now something is shifting. The very news that makes you smile may make someone else uncomfortable because it destroys the story they created about you. They expected disappointment, but you are receiving favor. They expected you to remain broken, but you are becoming stronger. They expected you to disappear, but you are stepping into visibility. They expected your setback to become your identity, but God is turning your setback into part of your testimony. And understand this, you do not need to chase anyone down and prove that they were wrong. Your life is about to become the evidence. Your progress will speak, your peace will speak, your confidence will speak, your transformation will speak. The greatest victory is not watching someone else lose. It is realizing that they no longer have the power to determine how you see yourself or where you are going. So if you have been wondering why everything feels different lately, why certain doors are closing, while unexpected opportunities are appearing, why you suddenly feel a deeper sense of clarity and courage, pay attention. Sometimes before the breakthrough becomes visible, something changes within you first. You stop begging, you stop chasing, you stop explaining, you stop allowing other people's opinions to control your emotions. You begin understanding that what God has for you does not require permission from people who never believed in you. And when your good news finally arrives, receive it with gratitude. Do not allow the shock on someone else's face to steal the joy in your heart. Do not shrink your blessing because somebody else is uncomfortable with your growth. You survived too much to keep apologizing for becoming stronger. This is not about revenge. This is about restoration. This is not about proving your enemies wrong. This is about finally stepping into the future they could not see coming. The season of being underestimated is ending, and the season of undeniable evidence is beginning. So stay with me, because what comes next may completely change the way you look at your past, your present, and the incredible future waiting ahead of you. Your good news is proof that their predictions about you were wrong. There is a moment in life when you realize that you no longer need to explain yourself to anyone because your life has started speaking for you. The people who once looked at your circumstances and confidently decided what your future would look like are about to discover something they never understood. A difficult season is not a permanent destiny. They saw the struggle, but they did not see the preparation. They saw the delay, but they did not see what was developing behind the scenes. They saw you walking through uncertainty and assumed you were losing, while you were actually being strengthened for something greater. And now, the good news beginning to enter your life has the power to silence every prediction that was made against you. Maybe it comes through an opportunity you never expected, a financial breakthrough, a restored relationship, a new position, an answered prayer, an unexpected door, or simply a peace you could not find before. Whatever form it takes, understand that your good news is not just another piece of information. It is evidence that your story was never finished. There were people who became comfortable with the version of you they saw during your hardest moments. They thought your struggle defined you. They thought your rejection meant you were unworthy. They thought your silence meant you had nothing left to say. They thought your setbacks meant you had reached the end of the road. But they confused a chapter with the entire book. They judged your future based on a page they had only briefly seen. They did not know that sometimes the darkest chapter comes immediately before the most remarkable transformation. They did not know that the season when everything seems uncertain can be the very season in which your character, patience, wisdom, and faith are being developed. They did not know that while they were discussing your failure, you were learning how to rebuild. While they were counting your losses, you were discovering your strength. While they were waiting for you to remain down, you were quietly preparing to rise. That is why your good news may make certain people uncomfortable. It forces them to confront the fact that they were wrong about you. They may have believed they understood your limitations, but they never understood your potential. They may have thought they knew where your life was heading, but they never knew what was being prepared beyond what their eyes could see. And now the evidence is beginning to appear. The door is opening. The opportunity is arriving. The blessing is becoming visible. The answer is taking shape. The person who once felt forgotten is beginning to realize that they were never forgotten. You were being prepared. There is a tremendous difference between being delayed and being denied. Sometimes the timing does not make sense because you are being positioned for something that requires greater maturity than you currently possess. If the door had opened too early, perhaps you would have entered it without the wisdom necessary to maintain what was waiting inside. So instead of becoming bitter about the waiting season, recognize what it produced within you. You became more discerning. You became more selective about who receives access to your life. You learned that not every voice deserves your attention. You learned that not every rejection deserves your tears. You learned that not every closed door is punishment. Sometimes a closed door is protection. Sometimes the person who walked away created space for someone better to enter. Sometimes the opportunity that disappeared was clearing the path for an opportunity you could never have imagined. And when that new opportunity arrives, you will understand why the old one had to end. So when people become shocked by your good news, do not become distracted by their reactions. You do not need to confront them. You do not need to remind them of every negative thing they ever said. You do not need to make your success a weapon. Simply keep moving. There is something incredibly powerful about succeeding without becoming bitter. There is something beautiful about receiving your blessing without using it to humiliate anyone. Let your transformation be peaceful. Let your success be disciplined. Let your character remain stronger than the opinions that once tried to reduce you. Remember, your greatest victory is not making someone regret underestimating you. Your greatest victory is becoming so secure in who you are that their regret no longer matters. The moment you stop needing their approval, you become free. The moment you stop waiting for them to acknowledge your value, you begin living from that value. And the moment you understand that your future is bigger than their opinion, you stop looking backward. Your good news is arriving to remind you that you survived what was supposed to defeat you. You endured seasons that were designed to make you question yourself, yet you kept going. You experienced moments that could have hardened your heart, yet you are still capable of hope. You walked through uncertainty and still found reasons to believe. That is why this next chapter carries different energy. You are not entering it as the same person who entered the struggle. You are entering wiser, stronger, more aware, and more prepared. So celebrate the good news when it comes. Protect it. Give thanks for it. Use it responsibly. Do not allow fear of other people's reactions to make you hide what you have worked and prayed for. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to win. You are allowed to receive beautiful things after difficult seasons. Their predictions were never your destiny. Their opinions were never your identity. And their expectations were never the limit of your potential. What they thought was the end may become the beginning of your greatest chapter. And when your life finally reflects the breakthrough you once prayed for, you will not need to say, "I told you so." Your peace will say it. Your progress will say it. Your testimony will say it. Your good news will say everything that words never could. The people who wanted you stuck can no longer control your story. There comes a moment in your journey when the people who once believed they had influence over your life suddenly realize that they no longer recognize the person standing in front of them. You are no longer reacting the way they expected. You are no longer seeking permission to move forward. You are no longer explaining every decision, defending every dream, or begging people to understand your heart. Something has changed inside you, and that internal transformation is beginning to produce external results. This is why your good news can make certain people uncomfortable. They are not simply hearing about an opportunity, a breakthrough, or a blessing. They are witnessing evidence that their influence over your story is disappearing. For a long time, they may have assumed that your circumstances gave them power over you. If you struggled, they felt superior. If you needed help, they felt important. If you were uncertain, they felt comfortable giving you their opinions. If you failed, they had something to talk about. But now you are standing in a different place. You have learned how to make decisions without needing everyone to agree with you. You have learned that silence can be stronger than arguments, and that walking away can be more powerful than trying to convince someone to stay. You have learned that not every battle deserves your energy, and not every accusation deserves a response. Most importantly, you have discovered that your identity cannot be built around the approval of people who only appreciate you when you are beneath them. That realization changes everything. When you stop needing validation, manipulation becomes much harder. When you stop chasing acceptance, rejection loses much of its power. When you stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, their opinions become background noise. And this is the freedom your new season is bringing. Perhaps they expected you to remain in the same place because they became familiar with the old version of you. They knew how to approach the person who doubted themselves. They knew how to influence the person who was desperate to be accepted. They knew how to make the person who feared abandonment compromise their boundaries. But they do not know what to do with someone who has finally learned their worth. They cannot control someone who understands that losing certain relationships can be the price of gaining peace. They cannot manipulate someone who has stopped confusing guilt with responsibility. They cannot intimidate someone who has survived the very things they once feared. And they certainly cannot control someone whose confidence no longer depends on applause. Your growth may therefore expose uncomfortable truths about certain relationships. You may discover that some people loved the version of you that needed them, but became distant when you became independent. You may discover that some people celebrated your dreams only as long as those dreams did not surpass theirs. You may discover that some people were comfortable with your potential as long as it remained potential. The moment you begin turning potential into reality, their attitude changes. But do not allow their reaction to make you question your progress. Sometimes people become uncomfortable, not because you have become arrogant, but because you have become unavailable for old patterns. You are no longer participating in the same cycle. You are no longer responding to the same provocations. You are no longer giving people unlimited access to your time, attention, emotions, or plans. That is not cruelty. That is maturity. Your new boundaries are not walls designed to punish people. They are doors that you now control. You decide who enters, who stays, and who must remain outside. And as your good news begins arriving, remember that you do not owe everyone a front row seat to your transformation. Some people can learn about your progress from a distance. You do not need to broadcast every plan before it becomes reality. There is wisdom in allowing certain things to grow quietly. A seed does not need an audience while it is developing beneath the soil. In the same way, some of the greatest things happening in your life may require privacy, patience, and protection. Let your results speak when the time is right. You do not need to announce every victory. You do not need to respond to every jealous comment. You do not need to prove that you are doing better. Keep building, keep learning, keep improving, keep walking forward. The people who once thought they could hold you back will eventually understand that your destiny was never in their hands. They could criticize you, but they could not determine your potential. They could reject you, but they could not erase your purpose. They could misunderstand you, but they could not rewrite who you are becoming. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this transformation is that you are not becoming powerful because you want revenge. You are becoming powerful because you finally understand responsibility. You know what your time is worth. You know what your peace is worth. You know what your future requires. You know that every opportunity cannot be wasted on people who are committed to pulling you backward. So when the good news arrives, receive it without guilt. When the door opens, walk through it without fear. When the opportunity appears, prepare yourself instead of questioning whether you deserve it. You have spent enough time wondering whether you are capable. Now it is time to demonstrate what you have learned. The people who wanted you stuck may be shocked because they are watching. You move beyond a version of yourself they thought would last forever. Let them be surprised. Let them wonder. Let them reconsider. You do not have to stop and explain the transformation. Your life is the explanation. Your discipline is the explanation. Your peace is the explanation. Your consistency is the explanation. And your good news is simply confirmation that the person they thought they could control has finally realized that the future belongs to the one willing to walk toward it. The old version of you may have needed their approval, but the new version of you understands something far more powerful. You were never created to spend your entire life asking people who doubted you for permission to become everything you were meant to be. What they thought would break you became the foundation of your comeback. There are seasons in life that feel like they were designed to break you. Moments when everything you trusted seems to collapse at the same time. When doors close without explanation, people walk away without warning, and the future becomes so uncertain that you begin questioning whether you will ever feel whole again. But sometimes the very season that appears to be destroying you is quietly constructing the person you were always meant to become. The people who watched your struggle may have assumed they were witnessing your downfall, but they did not understand what was happening beneath the surface. They saw tears, but they did not see the strength being formed through them. They saw disappointment, but they did not see the wisdom being developed. They saw you become quiet and assumed you had surrendered, when in reality, you were learning how to stop wasting your voice on people who had already decided not to listen. They saw you lose certain relationships and assumed you had been abandoned, but perhaps those departures created space for healthier connections to enter your life. They saw opportunities disappear and assumed your future was shrinking, while those closed doors may have been redirecting you towards something far more aligned with your purpose. This is the part they never understood. Your pain was not proof that you were finished. It was evidence that you were being transformed. Every difficult experience taught you something that comfort could never teach. Rejection taught you not to measure your worth by someone else's decision. Betrayal taught you to recognize the difference between genuine loyalty and convenient companionship. Failure taught you how to stand back up without waiting for someone to rescue you. Loneliness taught you how to become comfortable with your own company. Delay taught you patience. Disappointment taught you discernment. And uncertainty taught you that you can continue moving even when you cannot see the entire road ahead. The people who thought your hardship would destroy you did not realize that hardship was developing muscles inside your character. You were becoming stronger in places nobody could see. You were learning how to think differently, choose differently, and respond differently. You were becoming less reactive and more intentional. You were discovering that not every insult deserves an answer, not every rejection deserves a breakdown, and not every loss deserves to be mourned forever. Some losses are actually liberations disguised as disappointments. Some endings are introductions to a better beginning. Some delays are protection from something you were not ready to handle. And some painful chapters exist because the person who enters the next chapter cannot remain the person who began the previous one. That is why your good news is so powerful now. It does not simply announce that something good has happened. It reveals how far you have traveled. Someone looking at you today may only see the smile, the opportunity, the confidence, or the progress. They may not understand what it took to reach that point. They did not see the mornings when you had to motivate yourself. They did not hear the private conversations you had with your own fears. They did not witness the moments when you almost gave up, but chose one more step. They did not experience the emotional weight you carried while still showing up for life. You know the price of your peace because you remember what chaos felt like. You know the value of your progress because you remember how impossible it once seemed, and that is why you should never allow anyone to minimize what you have accomplished, simply because they did not witness the journey. You do not need everyone to understand your story. Some people will only recognize the result, and that is okay. Your responsibility is not to make them understand the process. Your responsibility is to honor what the process taught you. When your breakthrough arrives, do not forget the lessons that came before it. Do not become careless simply because life has become easier. Do not allow success to make you arrogant. Let the struggle remain part of your wisdom. Let it remind you to be compassionate toward people who are still fighting battles you cannot see. Let it remind you that circumstances can change quickly, and that nobody should be judged solely by their current position. Most importantly, do not turn your comeback into revenge. You do not need to destroy the people who once underestimated you. The greatest revenge is not making them suffer. It is refusing to become bitter because of what they did. Imagine reaching a place where you can remember the betrayal without allowing it to control your emotions. Imagine remembering the rejection without feeling worthless. Imagine looking at the old version of yourself and saying, "You survived." That is real victory. You are not required to erase your past. You are required to stop allowing your past to dictate your future. The scars may remain, but they do not have to remain open wounds. They can become reminders of strength. They can become evidence that you endured what once seemed impossible. And now, as new opportunities begin appearing, walk toward them with the wisdom your difficult seasons gave you. Do not sabotage your future by carrying old fears into new doors. Do not assume every opportunity will end like the previous one. Do not punish today's possibilities because yesterday's circumstances hurt you. Give yourself permission to experience something different. Your life is not obligated to repeat the same chapter forever. You can choose differently. You can think differently. You can love differently. You can build differently. You can dream again. And when the people who expected your downfall see you rising, let them witness something even more powerful than success. Let them witness your peace. Let them see that what was meant to break your spirit actually strengthened it. Let them see that the season they thought would become your permanent identity became the foundation of your comeback. Your story is not defined by what happened to you. It is being defined by what you built after it happened. So keep moving, keep believing, keep becoming. Because the chapter that once looked like the end may eventually become the chapter you thank God for. Not because the pain was easy, but because you discovered a strength within yourself that you never knew existed. What they thought would break you became the very foundation upon which your next level was built. Their fear is evidence that your season has changed. There is a moment when your life begins changing so noticeably that even the people who doubted you can no longer ignore it. You do not have to announce the transformation, because the evidence begins appearing everywhere. Your mindset is different. Your confidence is different. Your choices are different. Your standards are different. And suddenly, the people who were comfortable with the old version of you begin wondering what happened. They may not understand why you no longer react to the same things, why you no longer chase the same people, or why you seem less interested in proving yourself. But what they are witnessing is not arrogance. It is growth. You have reached a point where you understand that peace is more valuable than being understood by everyone. You have learned that attention is not the same as love, popularity is not the same as respect, and being surrounded by people is not the same as being surrounded by people who genuinely want the best for you. Your season is changing because you are changing, and when you change internally, the world around you eventually has to respond differently. People who once knew exactly how to provoke you may discover that their old tactics no longer work. People who once expected you to explain every decision may realize you are comfortable letting your actions speak. People who once believed they could make you doubt yourself may suddenly see you walking with a confidence they cannot easily shake. That is why your good news can create fear in certain people. It represents something larger than a single achievement. It represents the possibility that you are entering a level of life they never expected you to reach. They may have become comfortable with your struggle because it gave them a reference point. They knew where you stood. They knew what you lacked. They knew what you were afraid of. They knew the version of you that was still searching for validation. But now you are becoming less predictable because you are becoming more secure. You are making decisions from wisdom instead of desperation. You are choosing relationships from discernment instead of loneliness. You are pursuing opportunities from purpose instead of trying to prove yourself. And that transformation can make people uncomfortable because they can no longer use your old insecurities to define the relationship. But listen carefully. Their discomfort is not your assignment. You are not responsible for making everyone comfortable with your growth. You cannot shrink yourself simply because your progress makes someone else question their own choices. You cannot keep pretending to be small just because certain people liked you better when you were struggling. You cannot keep postponing your dreams because someone might accuse you of changing. Yes, you have changed. That is the point. Growth should change you. Healing should change you. Wisdom should change you. Experience should change you. If you went through everything you went through and remained exactly the same, then you would have missed one of the greatest lessons of the journey. You are supposed to become wiser. You are supposed to become stronger. You are supposed to become more selective. You are supposed to recognize what deserves your energy and what does not. This is also why you must protect your new season. Not everything needs to be announced immediately. Not everyone needs to know what you are building. Not every opportunity needs an audience before it becomes reality. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is work quietly and allow the results to introduce you. A seed does not need applause while it is beneath the soil. It simply needs time, nourishment, and protection. In the same way, some dreams require privacy before they require publicity. Keep certain plans close. Keep your focus strong. Keep your circle intentional. And when people begin noticing that something different is happening in your life, do not rush to explain it. Let them wonder. Let them observe. Let them see the results in their own time. Your progress does not need a press conference. Your transformation does not require everyone's approval. The people who truly love you will celebrate your growth without making your success about themselves. The people who are insecure about your progress may try to minimize it, question it, or find some reason why you do not deserve it. Do not fall into that trap. You do not have to defend every blessing. You only need to steward it wisely. And perhaps the most important lesson in this new season is learning how to celebrate without becoming consumed by comparison. Do not measure your success by how shocked someone else looks. Do not measure your breakthrough by how jealous someone becomes. Do not make someone else's reaction the scoreboard for your life. Your victory becomes much more meaningful when it produces peace within you, rather than obsession with those around you. You have already spent enough time watching who doubted you. Now watch what you are becoming. Watch your discipline grow. Watch your confidence return. Watch your opportunities expand. Watch your ability to make decisions without fear become stronger. Watch your faith become deeper. Watch your life become more aligned with the person you know you can be. That is the evidence that your season has changed. And when the good news arrives, receive it with gratitude. Do not apologize for it. Do not hide it because someone else may feel uncomfortable. You have every right to celebrate what you have survived and what you have built. Just remember to remain humble while you rise. Let your success make you generous, not arrogant. Let your healing make you compassionate, not judgmental. Let your breakthrough make you grateful, not boastful. The ultimate victory is not standing above the people who doubted you. It is standing beyond the version of yourself that once believed them. Their fear may reveal that your season has changed, but your peace will reveal that you have changed with it. The old cycle is ending. The old mindset is losing its power. The old limitations are no longer defining your possibilities. And now, you are stepping forward into a chapter where your life no longer needs to be explained because the evidence will become impossible to ignore. It is game over for the old version of your life. Your best chapter is beginning. There comes a moment when you realize that the greatest victory was never about defeating the people who doubted you. It was about defeating the version of yourself that believed their doubts. For too long, you may have carried the weight of rejection, disappointment, betrayal, criticism, and uncertainty, as though those experiences had the authority to decide what your future would become. But now something is changing. The old version of your life is losing its grip, and a new chapter is beginning to take shape. Your good news is not simply a moment of excitement. It is a signal that the story is moving forward. It is proof that the season of constantly asking, "When will my life change?" is giving way to a season where you can finally say, "Look how far I have come." The people who once believed your story had reached its limit may be shocked when they see what comes next. They may remember the version of you who struggled, who questioned everything, who felt overlooked, who had to rebuild confidence from almost nothing. They may remember your failures and assume those failures still define you. But people often make the mistake of remembering where someone was while ignoring who that person has become. You are not obligated to remain loyal to an old identity simply because other people are familiar with it. You have permission to grow beyond every label that was placed on you. You have permission to become more confident, more disciplined, more peaceful, more selective, and more courageous. You have permission to dream again after disappointment. You have permission to believe again after betrayal. You have permission to walk through a new door without apologizing for leaving an old one behind. Your future does not need to resemble your past. That is one of the most powerful truths you can carry into this next chapter. Just because something failed before does not mean everything will fail again. Just because someone betrayed your trust does not mean everyone deserves suspicion. Just because one opportunity disappeared does not mean your best opportunity has already passed. Just because you experienced a long delay does not mean you have been forgotten. Sometimes the delay was preparing you to recognize the value of what eventually arrived. Sometimes the struggle was teaching you how to handle what you once prayed for. And sometimes you had to lose your dependence on people before you could discover the strength that was already inside you. This is why your good news matters so much. It represents more than an external change. It represents an internal declaration that you are ready to move forward. You are no longer living entirely from what happened yesterday. You are beginning to live from what could happen tomorrow. That shift requires courage. It requires you to stop rehearsing old conversations in your mind. It requires you to stop wondering whether people regret what they did. It requires you to stop waiting for apologies before allowing yourself to heal. Some people may never admit they were wrong, and you still have the right to move forward. Some people may never understand your journey, and you still have the right to celebrate your destination. Some people may never recognize your value, and you still have the responsibility to recognize it yourself. Do not hand the keys to your future to people who were careless with your past. Your life is too valuable to remain trapped in an old chapter simply because someone else refuses to accept that you've changed. This new season also requires wisdom. When good things begin happening, do not become careless with them. Protect your peace, protect your focus, protect your time. Be careful about who receives access to your plans. Not everyone who becomes interested in your success is genuinely interested in your well-being. Some people may return because they see your progress and suddenly want proximity to what you are building. You do not have to become bitter or suspicious of everyone, but you should become discerning. Let consistency reveal people's intentions. Let character reveal who belongs in your life. Let time separate genuine support from temporary curiosity. And as you rise, remember to stay grounded. Success should not make you forget the lessons of your difficult seasons. Let those lessons make you compassionate toward people who are still struggling. Let your breakthrough remind you that circumstances can change. Let your journey make you patient with those who are still finding their way. You do not need to become cruel simply because others were cruel to you. Your victory becomes more beautiful when your heart remains clean. So if someone expected your downfall, let them watch you rise without hatred. If someone underestimated you, let them witness your growth without bitterness. If someone thought you would never recover, let your peace be the answer. You do not need revenge when your life is moving forward. You do not need to prove anything when your transformation is visible. The greatest statement you can make is to live so fully that the old version of your story no longer has the power to control your emotions. The game is over, not because your enemies have lost, but because you have finally stopped playing by the rules of your old limitations. You are no longer competing for approval. You are no longer begging for recognition. You are no longer allowing rejection to determine your worth. You are building. You are healing. You are learning. You are becoming. And the best part is that this chapter does not have to be rushed. You can enjoy the process. You can celebrate small victories. You can take your time. You can make mistakes without believing they mean everything is falling apart. You can move forward one decision at a time. Your future does not require perfection. It requires consistency. So lift your head and look ahead. The door behind you served its purpose. The lessons behind you served their purpose. The tears served their purpose. The waiting served its purpose. Now take what you learned and walk into what is next. The good news is not the conclusion. It is the beginning of evidence that your life can become something greater than you once imagined. Your past may explain where you came from, but it does not have permission to determine where you are going. The old chapter is closing, the new chapter is opening. And this time, you are not walking into it as the person who once needed everyone to believe in you. You are walking into it as someone who has finally learned to believe in themselves.